All right, thank you all very much. My name is Victor Lopez, and I want to thank the National Institute of Aerospace as well as Central LearnIT for allowing me to be here and talk with all of you today. Basically, what I want to talk to everyone about today is podcasting, using this technology, this new technology in the classroom, as well as how to incorporate that technology with NASA. NASA has been doing some great things to try and get more students involved and more young high school and middle school students involved in the space program so that they might be interested in it for a future career. As was said before, I am right now located in Houston, Texas. I was born in Corpus Christi, Texas. I am 17 years old, and I did work with Chris Gersh with the 21st Century Explorer podcast competition, which I'll talk about a little bit later. And it was the first annual one that they had last year, and I was able to take away with the support of my friends and family, People's Choice as well as Judge's Choice at a convention that was held down here in Houston. So it was very exciting. So first, what I want to talk about, like I said, was the history was podcasting. But in order to understand where podcasting came from and how it came about, it wasn't something that we invented that sort of just came in. It was a new product. It really evolved as the internet evolved. I'm sure all of you remember the .com boom of the 90s. Every time we looked around, a new place, a new person had a website. I remember going to different stores and looking at brochures and looking at advertisements, and what do you know, Walmart now has a website. And it was very strange to see all of these people get internet service and get websites all very quickly. So the first thing that happened with the internet was that it became readily available. The second big thing that happened to bring about podcasting was broadband speeds, and these are the very fast internet speeds that we enjoy now that we're able to transfer video and audio files fairly quickly. With this new technology that was brought into homes, DSL service, cable service, satellite service, this allowed for faster access to the internet and faster access to information. And once that became available on a broader scale, it led to the introduction of websites, very popular websites that we now know of as YouTube or iTunes, being able to download music and video all online at fairly quick speeds. The third greatest thing that happened with the internet was the ease of use of our computers and how they can be tied to the internet. And one big thing that came about with that as a third-party application, a third-party add-on, was cameras, camcorders, microphones. The reason that we can do this web chat today is because many of the computers nowadays come with built-in microphones or built-in cameras, and others you can buy an add-on for a camera, an add-on for a microphone, fairly cheaply. And the ease of use of these and the ease of getting them onto the computer and up on the internet brought about the podcast in both audio and visual formats. I will be talking a little bit about today about different podcasts that you can use in the audio section as well as the video section. So there's two distinct sections, but this was pretty much how podcasting first came about. Now you might be asking, okay, that's nice, podcasts, it's something about that you receive, it's an audio, something you receive, it's a video, but where in the world do I find these? Where did it come from? Well, the easiest and fastest way to receive podcasts are through a program that Apple released called iTunes. Some of you may be familiar with it. iTunes came about through the Macintosh computer and eventually got ported onto the Windows computers through the introduction of the iPods and the iPods going into the mass market. So what you see here is an iTunes screenshot. This is taken directly from my computer. And from within iTunes, you can actually go to the iTunes store. You don't have to buy anything because most of these podcasts are free. And you go into the podcast section, and there are thousands upon thousands upon thousands of both video and audio podcasts that you can download. This is a podcast from NASA Edge, the program that holds the 21st Century Explorer podcast competition, the one that I was involved in last year, and I will be showing you how you can be involved with it later on. And this NASA Edge podcast is all on iTunes. Not only can you find it through their website, but you can also go on iTunes, and as you can see on the top, you have a little bit of a description, a podcast description. You have some things that other people have listened to, other podcasts that people who have downloaded this one have also downloaded. And there at the bottom, you see a bunch of little text that might be kind of hard to read depending on where you are with your computer. And those are all of the shows that they have. And if you notice on the right, it says price free. Most of these podcasts are free podcasts that you can get through various means. So iTunes is the main way to receive podcasts. Now, how does that work? If you all remember, a while ago, maybe whenever you were using the internet, you remember that getting on the internet was sometimes tedious. You'd get on the internet and you would try to use it, but you had to go through the website, you had to go through the ads, you had to click around to find what you wanted. Well, some great things about the internet is the introduction of RSS feeds. And what this is a quick and easy way to find all the information that you want. I'm getting a question from a couple of the presenters about using iTunes at school. You should be able to download iTunes at school. Apple.com usually is not blocked because of the instructional support used for QuickTime and other uses. So iTunes you should be able to download at school. To download it, you would go to apple.com/iTunes. If you can't download it, I would work with your school administrator or your IT department to see if somebody could come in and download it. Again, it can be very educational. There are thousands of great podcasts from Discovery, from NASA, from the BBC, from ABC, from CNN, and these can all be great tools for media in the classroom. RSS feed. RSS feed because it's really easy to find. See here is news article the back of these podcasts. Articles easily everything that's been updated around this area. Hopefully y'all can see my little highlight there. So all of these are different articles. It'll information. All of that information comes straight from the website, and that's what these podcasts are downloaded on. Through iTunes, you don't ever have to visit down after you subscribe to these podcasts. Once you subscribe to these podcasts, as soon as they get updated from whatever website they're in, they'll automatically download as soon as you open up iTunes. And that's a great feature because you're up to date to the minute as soon as these audio and video podcasts get updated. Oops, went forward too far. That is history about very podcast. Yes, I'll give you a couple minutes a bit later, and it's very easy. These podcasts are very easy to receive. So it's time to figure out how can we get these podcasts and put it in the hands of students. One of the great things about what they're calling nowadays Web 2.0, and basically just a new way of using the internet. Everybody has become a reporter, everybody has become an eyewitness, and everybody has been able to put their own ideas and directly affect what goes on in people's lives. No longer do we only have ABC, CNN, CBS, Channel 10 News as our source of news, our source of media. Now there are thousands of websites, thousands of blogs out there that anybody can go to and do research. If you could put that power in the hands of your students, they can be empowered to do so much. And you can use it as a learning tool to do projects, and use this as to do opinion tutorials or articles. You can use this in so many different ways, all through incorporating these podcasts right into your classroom. So we have the 21st Century Explore Podcast Edition. This is how I got involved in podcasting out to the media, out to the general public. And the 21st Century Explore Podcast Competition, basically, last year I asked the question, how will NASA fit your life in the future? And it was the student's job to figure out, hey, how will it impact my life in the future? And in 1 minute, either audio or visual podcast to that question. And that incorporated students incorporated skills to organize their thoughts. On paper, most students go through their school career and write things on paper. In the world, you have to be able to take those ideas not only on paper, but also incorporate them in the world and speak about them, talk about them, everybody, and get out there. Podcasting has now become a new way to get ideas and to get thoughts out. Every has started doing this. Major broadcaster has started doing this. Everyone has realized that the internet will be in the future the wave of music. If anybody in the news or the television, they will tell you that in 10 to 20 years, likely they're looking for the internet in somehow. So, looking for the internet, doing this, setting up blogs, podcasts. The 21st century podcast competition allowed, and in this shot, Webster Explorer, and I'll be giving you that link a little bit later. And as you can see, this is Chris, the host of the NASA Edge program, and he's talking with students in Virginia. NASA Edge go around schools, places, and try to students as best they can. Is what they really want to bring in more people to about the net in general. So what I do is I do all to URL, and URL will to a podcast that I currently go to the website Explorer Podcast or Explorer. You can find the new podcast. This is going to be in its year. I believe they actually have a conference where the final to be announced. I believe that on it put a just edit that quick. That if it doesn't and let me like I said, a great person that mentioned the URL. Go ahead. URL. You can sort of what I do and be looking for students and you yourself and your URL that I text take you to and you guys 30 to 45 to watch that. This is the podcast I did last question. And also, just I guess that with family, and I also went through the program music, taking you through how to create one of these podcasts, both an audio and visual one, and how to create the music that is the bone of podcast. Like I said, the video podcast is a bit more complex. I want to start out with some audio podcasts and eventually move on to video podcasts. So go ahead and how to podcast, and I'm getting asking how long podcast the full moon. And one thing that you have to remember whenever creating podcasts is you want everything to be original. If you're putting anything on the internet, anything for everybody to download that you're going to advertise as your own work, copyright issues do come into play. So that means that you have to have original music, you have to have original video, and you have to have an original idea. So in order to make this, I couldn't just go on the internet and find video of the full moon. I had to actually go out and take video of the full moon. So I went outside one night and I took some video of the full moon. Another time we were coming in at the very end, you'll see a shot of two people at a park to the sunset. That shot, I actually ran home one night. We had just finished from going to a restaurant, and on our way back I took my cousin and her now husband, and we took him out to the park, and I sat him down and I said, okay, stay still and look at the sun, because I didn't want the sun to go down. I only had a little window to actually get that shot. So I had him sit down, but all in all, after filming it, after editing it, putting it on the computer, I found that it took me couple of weeks. And for your students, depending again on the level that you're going to put your students at, it could take them a little bit longer time. Again, audio podcasts are easier. And this was the first podcast that I created for another program. I have created little videos through my Jersey Village television program, but I never actually created one that was going to go out on the internet or anything like that. So it was sort of the first one I created, but it wasn't my first shot at video. Okay, so going on to the next slide, we're going to talk about now how to get your students to create these podcasts. There's a couple of different podcasts. They're going to get, like I said, there's audio podcasts and video podcasts. Main programs that you want to use to do that. For audio podcasts, Audacity and GarageBand are two programs that you might want to think about using. Audacity is great, and I'll be showing you a little bit about Audacity here in a moment. And there's actually a link on the Nortel site. I don't know if possibly Michael on it or Robert Long to the is a great, and basically for Audacity is a microphone, maybe some music that you have played, and you can do that through a microphone and get it onto the computer. And again, I'm showing you how to use Audacity here. And video podcast, it's a little in depth. With podcast, you can use on the Macintosh or Windows Maker on the Windows platform. They're great programs, both very easy. Usually like to take you step by step. A video camera, microphone is this. That you need depends on the level of video, but I also talking over it at times. And that was through the inclusion of a microphone and talking on top of my video. A video camera usually has a microphone. You can also use a microphone to act. It's called a voiceover effect, where somebody's talking over the video. I will also bring you a link a little later for Apple's tutorial application. It's download time from apple.com/QuickTime. You can actually pay, I think it's $15, and QuickTime Pro will connect how you quickly and easily create a little video podcast, a little video clip of yourself talking or something happening, and you can use that to incorporate into your podcast. And I'll be. I want to take you. This is another screenshot during my computer, and great program who are on the Mac platform. Maybe Market Tech or something, so I know how much time to spend on it. But GarageBand is a great program, and it's very easy to use. Basically, what you do is if you have a Mac, more than likely you will have a built-in camcorder. A built-in microphone. That's actually what I'm using to do the podcast right now. And for the, I'm going to use a laser pointer here. Right here is your record button, and that record button will, by pressing it, actually record anything that your external or your internal microphone is using. And you can get microphones pretty much anywhere. They're very cheap nowadays. You can get them for $5, $6, $7. Right at the local Walmart, and you can just plug that into your computer and use that. You push record and it'll automatically record. GarageBand is also great because it's already in there, so it's all copyright-free music, so you can use loops and you can put them together and make whatever music tracks along with your own voice, your own cues, and pretty much do whatever you want to do and let your mind be your limit. I mean, there pretty much is no limit to this program other than incorporating music and what you can think of. Yeah, questions. I'm going to go ahead and address those very quickly. Mr. Robert Long addressed the note that everybody should maybe pay attention to. There is another program that I'm not going to go into depth on the PC. I will go through some other programs for the PC. I believe that Danita Guarino had some questions about that. I'll be talking about that in a little bit. And Mrs. Stephanie Rainey asked about what is the difference between a podcast and a short film. There really is none. Some short films usually do come from podcasts. There are a couple podcasts that are like you would see Cost or 24, and every time a series comes out, automatically download iTunes. That's one of the great things. But usually, a podcast will address something, some type of topic. Well, a short film is usually meant to entertain. There are many podcasts out there that entertain, and the two could be used interchangeably. What really makes a podcast is whenever you upload it to the internet and give it to a mass audience through something like RSS feed, something like YouTube, something like many other sites, or send it through iTunes. These are all ways to get video out there. Video that you saw of mine was actually posted on Google Video. It's another program out there, like new 2.0 standard websites to host your video, and Google and YouTube really do a great job of allowing people to upload videos to the website and have them there hosted. That I will be talking about the PC a little bit, and just let them know if we're Mac users. Okay. All right. So, like this is GarageBand. Once you a little record button, talking into it, again, you can always click if you don't like how you sounded. You can delete it. You can do it. You can put what you here. Actually, go ahead and try and hide this real quick. Actually, a bunch of video tracks together. All this. And if you click record down here, it would bring in a track my voice. What I would, and it would automatically go into iTunes. From there, either email it, or I can put it to various different places such as YouTube or Google. And from there, I could go on. Teachers, sometimes a student works to the internet. Can cause some problems as far as the student to be filmed or recorded and sent. Is it a problem if they're registered to be filmed? And so sometimes you to classroom, just put it into iPad work. We're running out of time, so I'm going to talk to Audacity is another. Idea that you have. Would always do the advanced through Windows Movie. I don't have time to show it, but a simple phone, phone, plug the computer into the green and slots usually, and you'll have a great microphone and headset that you can use. And again, a camera, Mac, which this is a camera, microphone. Use that very quickly. If your school doesn't have that, a headset will work just as well. Camera is a little bit costlier, but if you're money for it, it'd be great to go ahead and get a camera and use that as well. Which is the next? It's a great thing as well as maybe different podcasts that NASA actually has, and I'll go to send out a links along through the questions, and basically, website you'll be able to find different podcasts and download them all. Really website. So that's pretty much it as far as the websites go. Hopefully answers. I know that there's a question about what's the difference. Basically, for making Nortel LearniT has some great tutorials for that. You can use step by step. You can really make students think creatively about doing their projects, creatively about researching a topic, and then they out of what they do because they're putting out a real product out to their students. And from there, by entering competitions such as the 21st Century Explorer podcast competition, hosted by Edge, win some great they can really get involved and start thinking about the program, and NASA's really doing a great job, not only but makes it
I have would you say your peers have this is comfortable to do if the teacher turns says, you guys take it from here, do students know how to do this on their own?
They might not know exactly how to podcast. They don't know how to use many of the programs. Usually if you let students loose with programs as simple as GarageBand or Audacity, they can sort of figure out their way around. We use Audacity, and we just actually started this year in the television program, and they were able to figure out fairly quickly how to record and save their audio voiceovers. We haven't had any questions. We just showed them, hey, here it is. This is the record button. They clicked it, clicked file save, and their voiceover, their podcast was done. So a lot of students really pick up, especially Audacity, very quickly, as well as it is as simple as clicking record, having that microphone, talking into it, clicking record again, stopping it, and file saving it. It's very, very, very easy to do. I really started getting involved into video whenever I was a freshman. I got involved into the television program. My first newscast was when I was around 14, 15 years old. I created my first news story, my first production of a video piece. But as far as little short videos, I received a video camera when I was 9. The old school podcasting was, here, and, just recording something, putting it on, trying to put it on the computer. The computer never worked, though, way since then. But, I tried to put something, and I did an intro for one of my basketball games in the 4th grade. It wasn't much, it wasn't really a podcast in the sense that, it didn't actually, but the first podcast that I did probably was around freshman year when I did the first service announcement and first news story with Village Television. I was about 15 years old. There's also a question here. John, sorry, can't pronounce your last name. How valuable would on-orbit video ISS crew members be to students as they develop their own podcast? I actually just finished a year or so ago. I went to an elementary school and I was speaking to 5th graders about NASA and about all the great things that they do, and I showed them a video that NASA had members on the ISS actually flipping around and doing crazy things in space, and they loved it. NASA has some great things, and by downloading this podcast you'll have this video at your fingertips, so you can use into it, and they can have fun with it. They can do whatever they want. They can put titles on it if they're using iMovie or Windows Movie Maker. They can put stuff on top of it. They can put music to it, narration to the behind it, using a microphone. Windows Movie Maker and iMovie are also very easy to use, and most students will pick it up really quickly, but I think it's very valuable, and you can get all that NASA podcast room through iTunes. Well, I just like to thank both Nortel as well as Nortel LearnIT, as well as the National Institute of Aerospace for allowing me to do this, and everybody out. And I believe there's one more question from Rob Long, a teacher with an iPod microphone that recorded straight to digital audio. That works also too. The only problem with it is I've never actually used the record feature on some of the iPods, and then you have to figure out what type of iPod supports it, and the microphones are usually $40 to $50, and it's a little bit pricier than just using the computers that you have in your classroom, putting a mic in it, and downloading a program such as Audacity. It's free. I used to do podcasts. The ways that I talked about today are not the only ones. If you Google podcasting, you'll find infinite amount of information about it. So don't limit yourself just to Audacity and GarageBand, as well as you as teachers and professionals in programs. Learn a little bit more about it and start using it a little bit more. You'll find the possibilities are endless with this. What I'd like to do right now is just for links. I think Rob, like Michael said, I shared with you the Audacity website to download the Audacity program, as well as the QuickTime tutorial for QuickTime podcasts. And you didn't want to use Windows Movie Maker, and had access to Windows Movie Maker or iMovie. And the last one I'm going to be typing in, it'll take me a little bit longer, is if you have iTunes, this link will take you directly to the NASA. If you Google it, you will also be able to find the link for that. And email me, and I'd be happy to help you as you all try to incorporate this into your classrooms.
Thank you, Victor. Thank you for all the preparation into this up front, for all of the practice time, and for a wonderful presentation today. You've been great. Thanks.